Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll begin with a roll call, please.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yeah, I'm here.
Ken Fletcher.
Here.
Jerry Kurian. Patricia West.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yeah.
Steve Russell.
Yes. Say the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
So move.
Second.
Moving to second. Any discussion, additions? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Communications, you got a letter on the fairness and reporting. Reports of committees and commission. We'll begin with the town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing in my report I'll comment on is the memo I had gotten from the city of Waterville indicating that they were going to be increasing our dispatching fees for fiscal year 2021. And as you can see, the fees will be going up $70,184. So currently we're paying $43,124, and so that's going to go up to $113,308 as proposed, which is a 163% increase.
And that's a 2-year period?
Per year.
That's per year. That would be the annual cost.
But it's gonna go from 40 to 70 and then to 113?
Nope, it's going to go from 43,000
Oh, to 113.
to 113. That's a 70,184 increase. So we did reach out to the Somerset County Communications Center. They currently provide us with 911 or PSAP call handling, and we've asked them to give us an estimate of what it would cost for us if we were to use them for dispatching.
Go ahead, Ken.
If I could, Mr. Chair, to the town manager, was there any consultation, or did we just receive the letter in the mail that your bill is going up?
Yes, we just received the letter in the mail.
Okay. You know, obviously Waterville's got to do what Waterville has to do. I would think that a better approach would have been to have a consultation, talk with Oakland, Winslow, and all the towns and explain the situation. I read through the memo, and yeah, they've come up with a number of the cost of $562,000. I see that they're going on population, which essentially favors Waterville, because Waterville has many more calls per population base because it's a service center. So by going with population, we pick up, I think I've worked out about a 24% increase. Just because we don't have as many calls per population, that's what they do. So anyway, that's, they can, I guess, have the right to run the city the way they want, but probably a 5 mil rate is $25.76. It'd be 100 for anybody else who could pay the bills. And that's kind of a snide remark, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for that.
Really?
Really?
That's sarcasm, is it?
That's all I had, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any more questions to the town manager and his report? We have the department reports, finance committee report, and the financial report. Any questions? If not, did you want?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, with the department reports, this might be a good time for the fire chief to report out on the fire trucks, or at least the engine, and what he's found.
Yeah, okay.
Well, good evening. I provided, I want to say at the workshop, the document that spells out the damages or have been discovered as a result of a routine inspection. Pretty simple. We have an engine that one of our mechanics has said that he will not put an inspection sticker on it when it's due for inspection in January. at the end of, well, the sticker expires at the end of January 2020. This caused some concern and raised a flag to me. If the gentleman is not willing to put an inspection sticker on it, I have to make sure that it's roadworthy. So immediately I contacted a commercial vehicle inspector with the Virginia State Police and had him come to the station to look at it. He looked at it and explained to me that he would not pull the vehicle from the road. All right, so I went on and asked again to dig deeper. How does this impact, basically, how is this going to impact us? I've got an inspector that says, I'm not going to put a sticker on it. We now have knowledge of the fact that one inspector says he won't put a sticker on it. He explained that the onus is on the inspector. Anytime a vehicle has any kind of damage by accident, a commercial vehicle, it gets inspected and it always goes back to the individual that has put their name behind this roadworthiness of this vehicle. So that puts a lot of pressure on the inspectors, and given the fact that within the year, a state trooper was killed up in the Bangor area from a tire that came off a vehicle. First question was asked was, who inspected this vehicle? So at the request of some individuals, local businesses, I had a second opinion, if you will. Another mechanic came up and said, and I actually spoke to him on the phone today, and I kind of jotted down my notes with my conversation with him. And in his words, he doesn't see a problem with the vehicle. And I said, okay, so you'll put a sticker on it? And he said, no, he won't put a sticker on it. He said, if you can remove all the lines and everything that run along the side of the frame, clean the frame up and paint it, then you can take it to another inspector and have that inspector inspect the vehicle, and maybe a third inspector, without explaining the history behind why we're taking it to another mechanic. Maybe it will pass inspection and we can get a sticker on it. I'm not very comfortable. In fact, I'm not comfortable with that solution at all. I will do whatever the council asks of me through the manager, but that risk is going to be borne by the council, because I am not comfortable with that type of procedure. He did say that you have some competing forces here. You have, it's like I equate it, I guess, to a doctor not wanting to go against the advice of another doctor, a lawyer not wanting to sue another lawyer for malpractice, kind of thing. You have one inspector that is not going to go against another, and you know, one has knowledge, and how does that vehicle now have an inspection sticker? That raises some questions, and so you've got some kind of competing things going on, but ultimately he understands the second inspector understands the concerns. He agrees with the concerns, but he doesn't think it's unsafe. However, he's not willing to put an inspection sticker on it. So that's where we are with the engine. Yes?
If I could, Mr. Chairman, through the chair. The way I remember a conversation during the work session, we were going to look at, you know, that I think we all accepted that there's rust there and potentially, or there is structural problems.
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
So the way I remember it, and I didn't bring my notes, but we were gonna look at, is there a repair that could be done that would make it inspectable without chasing around for inspectors? And that then, coincident with that, to look at a longer-term replacement strategy. And I'm gonna quote timeline, which is wrong. But I remember that we were looking at, I would say like a year, repair it so it is structurally sound, knowing that that is not a long-term solution. And during that period, get ready to make that replacement.
That is,
Now, did I remember that right?
no, you're pretty accurate.
Okay.
And this second inspector has said that he's not sure that a quote-unquote patch or engineered, because of the placement of the curvature of the frame where it is,
Right.
that would work. So that's from the second one. The first one was also, they're not engineers, and the second inspector was a steel, basically a steel guy, and he was of the mind that he can essentially do what the manufacturer would do in replacing the frame, but there would be third-party interventions before he can replace the frame.
But I thought that one of the pieces of information that we needed to get was that question to be answered. Is it, I'll say, temporarily repairable? So we can get another year, I'll just use that as a date, which will then allow us to get into the replacement process. Because the way I remember it, even if we said today we were going to replace it, unless we went out and bought a used one, we're going to run out of time before we get to the end of January, right?
Correct. The timeline is such that the repair, we can't get, I'm taking the assumption that you're speaking if we went ahead with a new one.
Yes, yes.
The feedback that I've received is we could have one in May, which is kind of a fast track. Now, what do we do from January or February 1 till May? We have 2 pieces of apparatus with pumps on them that it's bubble gum and baling wire almost, but it would suffice for the short term, provided one doesn't go down.
Right. And those, and
they're the older ones.
they're the older ones.
They're the
So
old-
it just seemed like, and of course you can't predict exactly what's going to happen, but from a risk analysis standpoint, it would seem that if we end up with 2 vehicles, both older than the one we've got, and we know we got a problem with the ladder, and we know, I can't remember the numbers, but T5 or whatever it is.
Correct.
Is
That's
on
the
the end
oldest.
of its useful life. It just seems like that we've got to get another step in there to me that says, even if we decide today we're going to buy a brand new one, and I don't know where we get the money, but let's just say that we said we were going to buy a brand new one, we're still looking at May. And anyway, my thought coming out of that workshop was that we were going to have that question answered. Is it repairable?
And the short answer I've received from the 2 mechanics is they don't know that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I may, through the chair.
He can wait a minute.
Oh, go ahead.
Then go.
Yes, if I remember right, through the chair, the figures you gave to us was gonna be between 150 and 300,000 to fix the frame. And a brand new truck is about 650. If I remember correctly on those figures.
You're close. I didn't go as high as 300 to repair the frame. The frame, I have the quote for the frame. I passed it on to Mr. Hevener that the cost to repair the frame and a couple ancillary like air tanks and a couple other things that go along with the frame, estimated $135,000. This is through the manufacturer. This is through the people that built the fire engine. They also said that you can guaranteed, it's like peeling an onion, you can guarantee at least a 10% in ancillary findings that have to be taken care of. The additional costs that come with that, and even if we do choose that route, I'm advocating I'll do what you guys tell me, but if we choose that route, we still have to make provisions from the time it leaves until the time it comes back. There are several components to a fire apparatus that aren't in any other commercial vehicles. It has a pump. It has some other wiring that controls certain things, that multiplexing that might need to be replaced. I don't know, but I do know that the pump on the engine just passed its test, but there's going to be some needed repairs to some packing to the tune of about $5,000 by the next year.
You mentioned something about the dash. There was different problems with that engine.
Well, there's no problems so much with the dash. They have replaced the odometer and the speedometer. So I think that was in reference to the mileage that's on the engine right now.
You know, I could never take one shop over another shop that says they can repair it, an inspection, but all. The original manufacturer of the fire engine is Minuteman, out of
Pierce.
Pierce. So that's the Pierce.
Yes, sir. Minuteman is the dealer.
Is the dealer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so unless we can get an engineered type of, from the manufacturer, solution to the problem, maybe we have already, or have we from the manufacturer?
They replace.
They just replace the whole engine,
They replace the frame.
the frame.
The frame.
And we have a cost for that, right?
Yes, sir. 135 plus 10, at minimum 135 plus 10%.
And that would go where to be repaired at that point?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin to get repaired. So to me, the manufacturer right now, listening to the competing, and yeah, we could do this here at this shop and this shop, but we could never really guarantee a manufactured solution to that issue. If we don't get a manufactured solution to the issue and send it to Wisconsin for repair, then how long would that repair last from the Wisconsin repair?
We're looking at 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, losing the engine, right?
Correct.
And then when it got back, what would be the lifespan of that Pierce at that point? E3.
You still have, if I can use round numbers, a 15-year-old engine with a 15-year-old transmission with a 15-year-old pump. We might be able to get 5 years out of it.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
I have no idea. It's no different. I equate it to a personal vehicle. I got a 15-year-old car, and I can put a new transmission in it and hope to get 2 more years out of it. And
It's about replacement. It's
Correct.
about replacement of your units. When we went through the workshop, it's saying if we got a $1.1 million for the tower truck, $1.1 million for the tower truck, which is gone in 2 years, or we have also T5, the tanker, which is the oldest one of the unit that we might need to replace. If we sent that out to Wisconsin for repair and got 4 years out of it, at $150,000, then we would replace. No, we got to replace something very soon. What would be the vehicle? You know, if we could get 4 years, because that's really not that old. That's one of the newest vehicles.
it is, with the exception of the rescue, it is the newest.
It's the newest. So, you know, unless we're gonna bite that bullet and send it out to Wisconsin for the 150 plus 10% contingency, which could go to 180,000 at the most, that's kind of the decision we have to make. And if we can get along with 2 apparatus in between time.
That's correct.
You know? So then whether we go 1.1 million on the ladder truck, or I know that you were talking to Waterville about maybe not getting a ladder truck if we didn't have to.
Yeah, we will be talking about
So, you know, I think the question is, if we send that out to Wisconsin, we buy ourselves 4 years maybe, and then we come up with, you know, what actually do we replace?
With no guarantee though.
With no,
Even after the frame's repaired, there's no guarantee how long that thing's going.
no, there's no guarantee, but we're trying to buy some time here, you know, and, but you're not saying that you, is that unreasonable, or is that just something you don't want to be without an engine, attack engine for that length of time? And I'm just talking here.
Yeah, I
out
hear
of
you.
Ignorance
I am-
of the whole situation, and I'm not a fireman or a fire service. We kind of recommend, you know, I can't just go on, you tell me what to do, you tell me tell me what to do.
I'm in the business of keeping people safe, and I was extremely uncomfortable with our ladder truck in the shop right now, and you saw what happened Friday.
Yeah, yes.
And we, you know, if Waterville's ladder truck was down or Fairfield's ladder truck was down, you know, the potential for that whole block to go, we are very fortunate that we were able to utilize theirs.
Yeah, if I might, through the chair, just to change subjects for a minute, I cannot, you know, talking to the people surrounding that fire, I cannot say enough about, you know, Joanne Ellison, the house near it, the John and Elizabeth Parsons that, you know, said that Rocky put the, you know, saved the house and the other surrounding buildings. I cannot say enough about the Winslow Fire Department, the response from other people, and that whole situation was just an amazing, that thing was gone in a, you know, from what they're telling, it was, you know, from they discovered it 8 minutes, it was totally engulfed.
Yeah,
but yet-
I've got some stuff that I was gonna pass out if we were gonna talk about it later, to give you a
Yeah.
timeline of the progression of the fire and how quickly it overtook that building.
You know, we're talking about dollars and cents and mill
Yeah.
rates and stuff here. What can never go is that we had an adequate response to that fire, and that we need to make sure that we have apparatus and
Yes.
everything to make sure in the future that we can, but just kudos to
Thank you.
that whole situation. It sounds impersonal here, but that's not an impersonal situation that happened on Saturday afternoon.
And trust me, we appreciate those accolades, but we haven't lost sight of the fact that a staple, a mainstay of this community has sustained a terrible loss, and it has impacted over 17, 18 families. We, you know, I have spoke with the owner on numerous occasions, and we maintained a presence there until Saturday mid-morning to make sure that, you know, we did our due diligence.
No one was hurt. And
No injuries,
you know,
none,
that was
none.
Amazing.
None.
Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, good, Mr. Chairman, I really appreciate the information. I think we had a good workshop. Was it the 10th? It seemed like. And out of that, you know, that we began that discussion that says, we've got 3 pieces of equipment that most likely are at the end of the usable life.
Yes,
For
sir.
one reason or another.
That's right.
And so what we were saying, the work ahead is that we gotta do the short term. Whatever we gotta do in the short term to make sure we've got safe, reliable equipment that serves the needs. And then we gotta put this plan together.
Yep.
To figure out how we're going to replace them, in what order, and of course, as you were talking about a grant for the tanker and everything. So I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, I hate to schedule another meeting, but I really think that we've got to sit down again and walk through that with new information and put that plan together. Because, you know, I'm really concerned. I'm very concerned, and I know you are, Chief.
Absolutely.
And we absolutely, I'm saying that we aren't gonna ignore it, and we need to put that plan together. And then, once we know what the plan is, we can then say, okay, these are the resources we're gonna need, and figure out if we can have that funding plan that's gonna support that. Thank you.
Can you, through the chair, can you set up another for next week?
Yeah,
at,
can we set up a date?
Set up a date next week, maybe, what's today, Tuesday? Tuesday, maybe at the beginning of the week.
15.
Yeah, I'll send out an email and we'll schedule.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Monday would probably be best for me, Mike, but
At that, at that, through the chair, Chief, do you, knowing the situation that's in place now, and I'm sure I think we have a pretty good information now for the most part and stuff. I'm sure you're thinking about what, you know what I mean?
What's best for the town?
Yeah, what's best for the town here and what you could, when we could have that workshop, obviously, everybody that needs to come.
Well, the bottom line is, we have to decide what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
We have to decide, are we gonna replace the frame,
yeah,
or are we gonna buy a new one?
yeah, we'll do that. We'll go through all those scenarios.
And we're running out of time.
Yeah,
So I would, I look forward to some guidance.
You know, if I could, Mr. Chairman, the immediate issue is the engine because of the inspection issue. But I also believe, based on what I remember, that the ladder truck is in serious need of help. And we got a 25-year-old tanker,
Correct.
right? And so all of that has to be considered and we gotta get a plan in place to do it. Thank you.
It's not that says 12 to 18 months figuring you have to do something with the ladder truck.
That is correct.
Okay, so we got a year and a half on the ladder truck, where the other one's down, basically down now.
We'll be down
No,
come January.
basically, yeah, January.
Right.
So,
But it
it
could,
gives us a year
Because
and a half to work on the ladder truck after we get this one taken care of.
Yeah, but what I suggest, I think that at least we gotta have a plan for all three vehicles.
Yes.
Which may say that 18 months from now, that we gotta do something with the ladder truck and
Yes.
so forth. So at least going forward, we can be checking on that plan to see if we're on track.
True.
Versus coming into an emergency situation. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it possible to have some sort of input about the ladder truck from Waterville prior to our meeting, so we can take that into consideration?
Yep, I'll attempt to do that.
Either Waterville, Fairfield, or something.
Yeah, I mean,
You were saying that
Any
two
sort of
towns had
mutual-
new ones.
yeah, any sort of
Well,
mutual
I
aid
think
thing.
three towns had new ones, Oakland as well.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you, Chief. Would you like to give a community report? Did you want to give a report? Now might be the time, yeah.
What's happening?
Communities and commission.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Set this up real quick. 2 seconds, set this up. Show and tell.
Real short?
Ms. Superintendent, I thought that was reading.
Handouts.
No, it's movie time.
well, knowing the stress of your job, I thought it might be like a defibrillator.
It will be in a minute.
I might need it. Another 5. Thank you. Goes.
All right, so something positive. So it took so much time to get this thing set up. But just like to show you something that's happened. We recently had homecoming. And go ahead, Kyle, show that first one. So homecoming in Winslow. If you go to file, you can open it up a little bit. Edit. If you go to edit and go to view. I'm sorry. And then enter full screen. First one, yep, it's not that much better, we just get rid of that stuff. So homecoming in Winslow, 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock, and I thought 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, what happens? I mean, what happens from 6 to 9? I mean, it's a bonfire. Most bonfires that I'm familiar with, you have a fire, you throw a mannequin in the fire and you say, beat the other team. But this was 6 to 9. And so I showed up at 6 o'clock just to see what was going on. This is what's going on. People are gathering in a parking lot. 22 seconds. Go ahead, Kyle. It's just 6 o'clock. People are gathering. See the bonfire in the corner there getting ready to go. Band's there. Kids being kids. What you don't see is there's a stage there to the right that's been put up. That music's playing. There's a DJ there. If you go to the next video, Kyle. This is dark. Video 2. So if you go to this one, this is when it gets dark. Look at the crowd now.
Huh?
Sea of people. Fire department's there with us.
They just showed the guy that owns McCormick's that was in that picture. He's there doing this thing. Is that what was in there?
What you don't see, these are boosters selling food. I didn't get to the stage. What you don't see is the stage. If you can do that one more time, Kyle. I can't do justice with the number of people who are there. I also can't do justice with the number of kids who are playing on the field inside.
Right there in the red shirt in front. Mr. Farnham, so. Great oil heat. Had a tough week.
Thank you, Kyle. If you could just hang on just a few seconds, I'll have you go to that other site in a minute. So I guess the point that I really wanted to make here was you had a 3-hour event. You had community here. That parking lot was chock full of people. And we always talk about family. And when you talk about family, you talk about schools in this community. That's such a heartbeat of your community. And that's the whole piece of that whole family piece. You've got to have families. You got that heartbeat. And you had an outstanding opportunity, or just an activity there to see that. You know, firefighters there, lit the fire, made sure everything went okay. A member of the community, obviously. So let me go on just a little bit more. I'm gonna jump gears just for a second. After that, we had in-service. During that in-service day, we had the police department come to our schools and talk about school safety. Again, we had the police department come in because we're a community. We wanted them there. And we talked about something called ALICE training. Right now, that would be another tool in our toolbox, because up until this point, whenever you'd have active shooter training, and it's not something people like to discuss or talk about, but whenever you have that, and when schools talk about that, the protocol has always been close your door, pull the shade, hide in the corner, don't make any noise. Hopefully the person will walk by. Now that training has totally changed. And the philosophy behind that training is they say run, hide, and fight. And with those 3 pieces, the importance of running and getting out of the environment that you're in, hiding, and then fighting if that's as a last resort. And Captain Fleming came in and did a presentation with our staffs on those particular pieces. And one of the things, obviously, was safety. That's another tool in our toolbox, but hang on to that piece because I'll get back to that as well. Back to the community piece. Chief was just here talking about the loss that McCormick's has just suffered. Over the weekend, we had a bunch of teachers get together with the high school principal, already talking about how do we support this family, because this family supports us. And, you know, having conversations about plans. Could we have a spaghetti supper to support them? Could we do a 50-50 raffle at the football game? Could we pass the hat at the collection at the football game? Can students do a bottle drive in order to support this organization? Again, I didn't realize that until Joel pointed it out, but Mr. Farnham was there. No one asked him to be there. He was there. So I just thought that was a really important piece to talk about. With such, you know, we always talk about departments, who we are. I think we're one heck of a family in terms of pulling all the departments together. Kyle, if you could pull the website up just for a second. Construction update, wanted to just take a second to do that with you. You can go to this site anytime. You had asked for some updates. I'm trying to give you some updates. So if you just go to the Winslow Public Schools website, there's a spot called renovation. And what you see is what you get in there. If you can just scroll down, Kyle, a little bit. And it's just a quick few sentences on what's happening. You see the masonry for the gym has gone up. It's going up. You see the underground plumbing. That's happening for the bathrooms. That's one of the bathrooms in the 7th and 8th grade. I don't know if you can move that a little bit, Kyle, so they can see the foundation on the top. It's just foundation work that's there for the band room that sticks out into the parking lot a little bit, the existing parking lot.
Whatever reason, I can't get over there.
Okay.
The way it's.
It's that new technology that we.
Yeah.
So if you drop down a little bit to the second screen, you'll see the layout right there in that corner of the entire wing that's a little bit earlier shot. It's kind of in reverse order, and then you can see some of the walls going up, cement being poured. Steel comes in 10 days. Once the steel comes, you'll really see some progress. Things are going exceptionally well with this project, knock on wood. So anytime that you want to go and visit that site, you can, and we try to provide updates with some pictures every couple of weeks. Ray has come to a couple of our meetings. He's been to the last 2, I believe, Ray. There was an article in the paper over the weekend. You may have caught that article. It was a little confusing with the way that was written. One of the things that they wanted to talk about, which we're very pleased about, we're very happy about, is the opportunity for us to put the addition on that cafeteria for our students for a number of reasons. That number came in at $589,899, and we were able to make that happen because some of the savings in the construction costs of about $207,000. We did not need to use our bid contingency because all of our bids came under, which is miraculous. So with that and some savings from the sprinkler system, we were able to move forward with that. What that means is we still have about a 4% cushion there, which is what we should have moving forward because we are far from done. So we still have our construction contingency there, but as we know, you always run into skeletons, you always run into things. So there's a long time between now and next spring. We had a little hiccup last week with some tanks that were in the ground. We needed to dig a ditch to remove some water, divert some water from there. Those little things will come up between now and then. So just wanted to give you an update on that piece.
Thank you.
On those tanks, what kind of tanks were they?
Oil.
Oil.
Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, Peter, I wonder, just a few questions, and, we're obviously moving forward for next fall to be into the new facility by the fall of next fall.
Yes.
And when, obviously there's probably on a weekly basis, hundreds of decisions that are being made at some point in time, this is that, we had to do this, we've got to do that, and obviously it's a very fluid situation. As we move forward into the project and stuff, is there a mechanism in place that right now you're onto the scope of project, correct?
Yes.
As we move forward, and then, I'm trying to find out how to phrase it, we're gonna have this is what we spent, this is what we have moving forward. And then at the tail end of the project, we're either gonna come in, hopefully, at this point in time, looks like we have a contingency to come in either at budget or maybe perhaps under budget, but, so, what is, as we move forward under budget, what happens to, to money that's right now not accountable, or?
Yep, it's my understanding, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, it's my understanding that you're supposed to use that money for that project.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. One of the things that I mentioned this evening was safety. If you recall, way back when, we talked about, is there any plans to improve safety within this project? At the time, as we all know sitting here tonight, we didn't have any wiggle room in terms of money to look at safety. If we had some money left over, I one of the things that I would say after listening to Captain Fleming the other day talk about entryways and the glass that you've got in the entryways, could we do something with that glass to make it a safer entryway, to make that whole process safer? That would be one use that I could see of that. The other thing, and you know, we year after year after year, we come to you, and like the fire truck, like everything else, money is tight. We have a list of things that major capital repairs that we've tried, and Ken, you've said this before, what's the list? And we have a list, but I have a list of major capital repairs here from each of the buildings that could easily eat up anything that we might have left over. So, and that would be a bonus, because it's not something we'd have to come back to you again and say, hey, we need another $95,000, for example, or $45,000 for floor replacement, or $20,000 for, you know, 14,000 treatments in a new addition, awning over the common entrance, because that area, when it gets water, it's rusting, we're replacing doors, it's costing us money. There's a list of things here that we could look at.
You know, good, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I think, and of course, you folks that are managing the project, so to speak, you know, at some point, you should be able to identify there's X amount of dollars left. And wouldn't the process be as straightforward, Mike, and you can probably help me here, is just put through change orders?
Well, actually, the way that the bonding was done, if it's not being used for the construction project itself, the town council would have to decide how,
Okay.
whatever is left over, how that money is going to be utilized.
Going to be used, and
Yes.
and the way we could do that is with a change order.
Yes, yes.
You know, I'll use the word change order, but it's, you know, here's the project, here's what it is, and if the council's going to approve it, that's the type of thing
Yep.
that we would look through based on the priorities that you folks have laid out.
That's what ideally, that would be
Yeah.
awesome
Right.
if that's what you did.
Yeah.
If I could, as far as that line goes to your question, Ken, I mean, a lot of the in-school renovation, particularly at the elementary school, and some of the things that are happening inside the high school aren't gonna happen until next summer. So when exactly the timeline is that we're comfortable with where we stand with the money might be a bit variable as far as our.
Sure.
You know, might be a certain amount of money we know in June, and we might not know.
Right. Well, you know, the good, Mr. Chairman, I would think that that event would be when the project is complete, right? And all the checklist items have been taken care of, and then there's X left, right? Because you want to make sure that the money first is prioritized towards the project. And then if there happens to be money left, which would be September, October, maybe even November of 2020, before you'd know it.
Move in and use it, you know?
Right, right. You know, it is there in the account. It's not going to go away. So even if it was October, November, when that was brought forward, I think it would still serve the purpose. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Peter, 2 questions. On discovery of those tanks, was DEP notified?
Well, that wasn't a discovery, those are tanks we knew we had.
We knew we had.
Oh, okay.
No, that wasn't, that would have been, we would have taken care of a bunch of that contingency.
Yeah.
No, it was just a drainage issue on, some water that's accumulating at the top of the tanks.
We had to move a couple of tanks and relocate them, and where they've been relocated, if you've been out there, it's totally flat. And so there's a pitch there. And so there is a drainage that goes to try to remove the water, but there was still some there, so they dug a channel on Monday to redirect that water out of there.
So the tanks are still there?
Yes,
They're still being used?
yes, they will be used.
But it was the tops of the tanks that are under the covers, right? Is where
Yes.
the water was getting in there with them.
Right.
Any more
Not
questions?
in the tank itself, but
It does.
Raymond?
where the valving and everything attaches on the top.
Obviously, when you're engineering and when you're doing the construction phase of the project, say in even March, April, June, July, you know, at those time periods, it might make sense to do a change order, you know, earlier in the process sometime, so that you could actually, if you're gonna do it, and you're there, and you have it open, then sometime it's easier to go in there at a cost-wise and fix something that's there. So, you know, depending on, I would not be shy to come to the council if it's out of scope of project, to say, hey, this is something that we're looking at, this is where we are spent to, this is where we estimate to be, this is still our contingency, to use the council and to use, at that point in time, you don't want to live with something that we have lived with, like the situations we're at, that got us into this problem, either with roofs or with different things. And this is the time when we have it apart.
Trades are there, you gotta.
You have it, it's so economical to,
I appreciate it.
but since it is money, it's in the scope, that's your prerogative, but if something, please come to us, and if you see something that needs to be fixed, that you have a question, just, you know, keep the open communication, so once it'll benefit you, but it also benefit the taxpayers that are paying for it to know what we're spending the money on in that open process, you know?
Right, appreciate that.
Any further questions? No, thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. No old business, so we'll move right into new business.
Just, I know the department reports, I don't mean to make this
Nope.
lengthy, but I
Nope.
saw in the planning board, Ellery, that on the Augusta Road property that we had discussed at numerous times, it was now, you guys put a conditional use on some restrictions on a use, so they could do it as a used car lot now. So I read the provisions, you were okay with that?
I was.
You was?
I thought they were.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion to accept all reports from the committees and commissions. Moved, is there a second?
Second.
Moving second, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Now we will move on to new business. Ordinance number 15, 2019, an ordinance providing for the amendment of Ordinance 4, 2002, the administration of general assistance. Be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the Town Council established an ordinance for the administration of general assistance, Ordinance number 4, 2002, and whereas the Maine Municipal Association has provided an update to the model general assistance ordinance, and whereas a new proposed update changes for the period of October 1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2020. Now therefore be enacted that the Town Council of the Town of Winslow that ordinance number 4, 2002 be amended to include appendices for the period of October 1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2020.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Is that a roll call vote?
It is
If we're all set, we'll have a vote.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Jerry
Yes.
Kurian. Patricia West.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes. Moving on to order number 18, 2019, an order providing for the abatement of personal property taxes on accounts that have been deemed out of business or the tax collector has determined that the collection costs will be greater than the taxes to be collected. Be ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the tax collector has made every effort through the normal processes without adding undue or unjust expenses to the Winslow taxpayer. Now therefore be it ordained that the municipal office of the Town of Winslow hereby authorize the tax collector to issue tax abatements to the accounts in the amounts listed in the attached document totaling $3,084. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So, I have a question just
Go
about
ahead,
this.
yeah.
So we've attempted to collect this over numerous years with no luck.
Correct.
$24.99.
Yes, oftentimes what happens is a business will close and the assessor's unaware.
Right.
And so she assesses. As the tax collector, I'm required to collect it. It doesn't matter what the amount is. And so we do make an attempt to collect whatever is owed. But once I find out that the business was closed and should not have been assessed, then I bring that to the council for an abatement.
Any further
There
questions?
are some accounts that, for example.
It's like $24.
Right, well,
like-
there are some accounts that's the total that they pay.
Okay.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call vote.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Jerry
Yes.
Kurian, Patricia West.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell. Steve Russell.
Yes. We now move on to order number 19, 2019, order providing for authorization of town manager to accept an engineering proposal for designing sewer replacement and paving on a portion of Benton Avenue at a cost not to exceed $120,000. Be it ordered by the town council, town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the engineering firm of Wright Pierce submitted the lowest cost proposal, and whereas the sewer line needs to be replaced on Benton Avenue from Bridge Street to the Roderick Road, and whereas the main section of Benton Avenue needs to be reclaimed, now therefore be it ordered by the town council, town of Winslow, that the town manager authorized to accept the engineering proposal for designing sewer replacement and paving on a portion of Benton Avenue at a cost not to exceed $120,000. Be it further ordered that the project will be funded from the street and roads capital account and the sewer capital account.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion.
Good, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I know that this is a key piece of work, and fortunately, hopefully we can get it repaired before it fails. My only question is, realizing how tight capital is, do we have the money in those streets and roads? Because I looked at the July sheet, and we're 96,000 red right now.
Yes.
And likewise, within the sewer department, do we have available funds for FY20? And of course, by that time, when we look ahead, we should have the engineering report to know what the total job is.
Right. So right now, we're anticipating about 500,000 from Maine DOT.
Yet to be received?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's gonna take care of.
How it come about is we were supposed to get an MPI for next year, for this paving. So we started scoping out our sewer
Right.
lines. And
Found out bad.
Not very pretty.
Yeah.
And we actually had a backup this weekend on Benton Avenue.
Yeah.
So I just, in good conscience, I just don't feel it's right to try to pave a road when you know what's underneath is.
Right.
It is old and tired, but unfortunately, it's about a mile of pipe, so it's coming at quite a large cost.
It's gonna be pretty expensive.
It's probably on the good side of $1 million.
Yeah. So, obviously, to get to the next stage, we have to get the engineering estimate and everything, but I would suggest that sometime reasonably soon, maybe after we get that, I think we've really gotta sit down and look at FY20, streets and roads, looking ahead 1, 2, 3 years to figure out what's coming ahead of us, because we were gonna do the paving, but we were not gonna do the sewers.
Correct.
Right, so,
But the reason I'm trying to push it a little quicker too is we've pretty much talked to DOT and they've allowed, I think they're gonna allow us to not accept next year's MPI so we can resubmit an application for a larger amount.
Right.
The maximum is $500,000, which is why we need to get numbers as soon as possible so we can make that application for. Chances are the road will get done in 2021. We can do the sewer line next year. I think trying to get everything done in 1 year is just too large a project.
so, that the thought would be, because that the budget process is gonna start sooner than we think, to really look ahead what we gotta do in FY20, 21, 22, 23, because, we got a lot of projects that we need to get done. And we wanna make sure the funds are available and that we've planned on that happening versus scrambling around to the last minute to try to find funds. Thank you.
Any further
Chairman.
questions? Yes, go ahead.
Few questions for our illustrious Public Works Director.
He's not here.
One of the questions is, does that project, are we gonna include drainage? Or what condition is the drainage in?
I haven't had much chance to look at the drainage yet. It's gonna be part of the engineering, that's part of why I added contingency to the engineering costs, because I know we may have some extra work to be done as we discover as we go along. And part of the cost is including inspection of these projects. They were expecting on a part-time basis, they end up doing more hours, so I've tended to shoot myself in the foot by budgeting really tight sometimes and having to come back for extra funds, so I put a bit of contingency in there, hopefully that we don't have to do that.
So if it could, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, I noticed that the Wright Pierce bid was $99,900. you're asking for 120, and that's because you want to have some additional funds if you need additional engineering?
Correct. Especially if we get into some of the drainage that we haven't had a chance to look at yet. And that's why I was trying to push it, because I know budget time is coming, so we'd like to get some numbers.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, the other thing is, we got a section that was rebuilt between the Roderick Road and the elementary school entrance.
Correct.
And now on that sewer, does it start at the Roderick Road and go the whole way down to the railroad tracks?
That's all the same old sewer, 1,700 feet from the school to Roderick Road, and that's gonna be a decision we'll have to make, that do we wanna dig up that new road that get done, which probably should have been done when they did the road, but you know, it's past history. But on the other hand, I hate to leave 1,700 feet of old sewer between new sections. And the good part about that section is we can probably get by with an overlay once we do just the sewer work, and we don't have to, you know, reclaim the road and rebuild sidewalks.
Any further questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Now this price, is that gonna include, what are you doing for tie-ins from side streets and houses?
Normally, when we do sewer main, I bring the tie-ins up to the property lines on both sides.
And then like 15, 20 feet up each side street, or whatever?
Yeah, far enough into a side street, then some of those.
So we don't have to impact the main road ever again?
Correct, that's my plan. Even though the laterals technically belong to the homeowner, but obviously we don't want to replace the main line and then digging up the road 5 years from now.
Exactly.
So we've done in the
I
past.
just wanted to make sure that was gonna be part of that.
That's usually my method.
Good enough.
Any further discussion on order number 19? If not, we're ready for a roll call vote.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jerry Clarion? Patricia West?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes. A couple of these I'm just gonna read by title probably.
Do I dare ask the question, can we do the second reading on this one, so we can get the engineers going on this? And get budget figures? I know it's a lot of money, I know it's a big request, so. I'm just asking.
I make a motion we forego the second reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded to suspend the second reading. Any discussion?
I think that it's a reasonable request, Mr. Chairman, because it's not a question if we're gonna do it, it's a question we need to have it done.
Yep. Any further discussion? If not, I'll have a roll call vote.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jerry Clarion?
Yes.
Patricia West?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes.
Thank you.
Steve, you did it.
Moving on to resolution number 31, 2019, a resolution providing for the application for a restaurant class 1, 2, 3, 4 liquor license renewal by Stanley LaPointe, DBA The Point After, Inc., 252 China Road, Winslow, Maine. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Open for discussion.
I abstain.
We all set?
Is there a typo on the application? Their gross income from period of last license is only $470 in liquor.
I saw that too. I'm gonna.
Jeff drinks that in like 2 hours.
That's nice.
That's not.
I'll put a narrow Jeff West.
Yeah, I'll be checking on that.
And 716,000.
Right, and food, yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. And there's one
Abstain.
abstention. We will move on to resolution 32, 2019. A resolution providing for authorization for the town clerk, registrar of voters to notify the voters of this municipality of a municipal and referendum election for the town of Winslow to be held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. Be resolved. Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on resolution 32, 2019? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Unanimous. Move on to resolution number 33, 2019. Resolution providing for authorization for the fire department to accept $36,000, $571.42 in federal funds for advanced EMT training and the town's match of $1,828.58. Be resolved by Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the fire department is planning to use the funds to send 3 FF/AEMTs to paramedic level training, and whereas the funds for the town's match are available in the fire department training line item, now therefore be resolved, Town Council, Town of Winslow, that the fire department is hereby authorized to accept $36,571.42 federal funds for advanced EMT training. The town's match is $1,828.58. Moved and
Second.
seconded. Any discussion?
No, I just ask a question, Mr. Chairman. It says we're gonna be, to send 3 firefighters to paramedic training. Is that away someplace, or is that just right here?
At least 3. I'm hoping
No, I'm just
with the
saying.
money that we have that we can send 4.
4.
And that would be local, through the local
Okay,
KVCC.
Okay, so it's not like that they've gotta travel or anything like
Correct.
that? And would this grant pay for any overtime coverage for them while they're in training, or is that gonna apply?
That does not cover, that is just the cost of the class.
Okay, so if there is any internal replacements while they're at training, you can cover that in your budget?
I'll find a way.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Go
Have
ahead.
you picked the 3, maybe 4 that you're gonna go? And how did you pick them?
The way I would do it is I would want 1 on each shift. That would be the best way to do it. That way each shift has a paramedic on there. And by the way, we just received our license. I don't know, I mentioned it at the workshop. I don't know if that was noticed, but we are permitted up to paramedic level right now. And can I share some news?
Sure.
Waterville just voted to buy 2 new ambulances, well, 2 ambulances now. So they're gonna be transporting. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Any further
Joe, for the
discussion?
dispatch fees.
Well, it's kind of funny. I was at their city council a couple weeks ago, and they made it pretty clear that they're not going to leave any stone unturned for collecting revenues. So,
Thank you.
Any further discussion on resolution number 34, 2019? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Move on to resolution 35, 2019, a resolution providing for the adoption of the attached fire department fees for emergency services rendered in
Excuse me,
fiscal year
Mr. Chairman.
2020.
I missed something.
Skip number 8.
Resolution number 34.
34, 2019.
33, we just, is the one that we just took the vote on.
Oh, I'm sorry, yep, I had that, okay, I apologize. Erase what I just said on 35, and we'll move to resolution number 34. A resolution providing for authorization for the fire department to accept $81,000 in funds to purchase 2 cardiac monitors, town's match of $9,000. Moved,
Second.
seconded, any discussion?
Just a question, Mr.
Yep.
Chairman, through the chair. What's the expected life of these units?
what would they, let's say about 9 years,
Oh,
something like
okay.
that?
So it's not like after a year or 2, you have to just replace them?
No, sir. No,
Okay.
they're life expectancy. In fact, here's one right
Okay.
here.
Thank you.
We've been test driving them.
Raymond?
Just in the previous discussion we had about Waterville purchasing 2 ambulances and
Yes, sir.
stuff. So obviously, at some point in time, there's gonna be a mutual aid. I mean, the transporting service that we have now, Delta, any effects that would have on Waterville purchasing 2, I'm sure you're gonna communicate that to us, because, you know, if they go, obviously the dynamics of Waterville transporting, Delta not transporting in the Waterville area, that's a big chunk. Would that affect our transportation or the coverage that we receive here for transportation in Winslow?
I'm sure it's all going to have some effect.
And just, I'm sure you'll be abreast of that and just communicate to the council
Absolutely.
anything that
Absolutely.
might jeopardize, you know what I mean, or diminish the response or improve the response. maybe,
Correct.
that we have here.
Well-
As far as mutual aid and whether Waterville will be backing up too for transportation.
Correct.
Things while we're,
Yep. Waterville and Winslow are already working cooperatively together to back each other up. And I would hope that we could have a cooperative agreement with Delta if the council was to move in that direction. My objective with the 2 proposals or the 2 resolutions that we've just brought forth is kind of like what baseball does with their farm system. You know, there's a shortage in the state of Maine and nationwide for emergency medical personnel and fire department, volunteer both. And what I'm trying to do is grow our own so that we have the best care available to the people that come through our town. So by sending the 7 of us to the advanced, that got us one level above where we were, and now to send, hopefully, if I can work the numbers right, send 4, then we have now almost half of our staff would be at the paramedic level with virtually limited cost to the town. So I'm trying to fix the problem
I
in-house.
see that, and I understand that. Maybe at some point in time, not tonight, we'll have to have the discussion, because paramedic level without transportation sometime might, we're gonna use the skills we get.
Absolutely. We're there first 95% of the time, so we can, that's the whole objective, is that we get the paramedic level care immediately.
So we can start an IV, we can do everything before the transportation unit.
Oh, yeah, we can do that. With the advanced certification, we can do that right now. We're limited on the drugs we can do. We can utilize this monitor right now. We just, certain scope that we can do with this.
Yep. It's not.
Trust me, we're good.
Just.
Two
Yeah,
thumbs
if
up.
we could, return to Resolution 34. Is there any further discussion on Resolution 34? If not, we're all set. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Chief.
Hey, no, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Resolution number 35, providing for the adoption of the attached fire department fees for emergency services rendered in 2020. Be it resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows: whereas the fire department has been authorized to charge fees for emergency service rendered, and whereas the attached fees are being recommended by the fire chief, now therefore be resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow, that the attached fees are hereby authorized for fire department emergency services rendered in fiscal year 2020.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Go ahead.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, through the chair, is the intent of this, this is the fee schedule for when we bill insurance companies for the services provided and so forth, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Moving on to resolution number 36, 2019. A resolution providing for authorization for the town manager to enter in a $20,000 binding principal forgiveness loan through the Maine Bond Bank for funding the development of the Sewers Department's climate adoption plan. Be it resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows: whereas Maine DEP is providing funding for the development of a climate adoption plan, and whereas the Maine Bond Bank is a financial manager for the program's funds, now therefore be resolved by Town of Winslow, Council of Town of Winslow, the town manager hereby offers to enter in $20,000. Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just a question for clarification. I'm assuming that we're going to hire a subcontractor or a consultant to do this?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimous. We will move on to resolution number 37, 2019. A resolution providing for authorization of town manager to purchase a 3/4 ton pickup for the sewer department at a cost not to exceed $30,000. Be it resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows: whereas the sewer department is in need of a pickup truck to haul their trailer-mounted camera, and whereas the funds are available in the sewer capital line item, now therefore be resolved, Town Council, Town of Winslow, the town manager is hereby authorized to purchase a 3/4 ton pickup for the sewer department not to exceed $30,000. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
Chairman, was this in the capital plan?
I hadn't laid it out in the capital plan, because I talked to Mike Ruiz to get the money from Fairfield for the truck, because that was my initial plan. was to
Okay.
use that money to get a truck.
But was it in the capital plan for this year? No, even though that we're gonna use the funds from,
That was the plan with that money, was to get them a truck. I just hadn't looked to go into the existing capital.
okay. So what are we using now?
We're using everything we've got. We're borrowing the mechanics pickup most of the time, which leaves them on foot. And we're using some of the one-tons, but it'd be nice to have a dedicated vehicle for them to
What if you didn't get it?
we'll get by like we've done
Okay.
for now.
You know, that the only reason I even raised the question is because, you know, probably I'm getting overly sensitive, but I think we got a major capital issue coming up here. And I know that we increased the sewer rates and we got the sewer bond, and we've been using that pretty heavy for various things, maybe justified. I just want to make absolutely sure that we absolutely need this truck.
It's a vital piece for them now that I got two guys that work, is when they take something else, it puts another crew in.
Okay, so,
And,
you know,
especially in the summer when the mechanics need their truck, if they're gone with the camera, they're on foot.
so if they don't have this $30,000 truck, we're gonna incur a greater cost than $30,000 because we're gonna disrupt everything else?
It's just sometimes they're not productive because they're sitting there waiting for the mechanics truck to come back in the
Okay.
summertime. So they can't go out in camera lines and check the pump
We
station.
really need it, Paul, is what you're telling me.
I think so, yes, to get through it.
Now, here's a real question. We are gonna have to build another garage to house it, Billy. Okay, good, thank you.
Any further questions on resolution number 38? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimous. Moving on to resolution 39, 2019. A resolution providing for the approval of the attached list of election clerks to assist the town clerk warden with the voting activities for the upcoming state municipal elections.
Skipped one.
Skip to
38.
number 12, Steve.
Yep. I don't know why I'm skipping ahead. I apologize. Back up one more time. Resolution number 38, 2019. A resolution providing for authorization for the town manager to purchase a trailer-mounted 60-kilowatt diesel generator for the sewer department at a cost not to exceed $38,000. Be it resolved by Town Council of Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the sewer department is in need of a trailer-mounted generator to operate their pump stations during a power outage. And whereas the funds are available in the sewer capital line item, now therefore be resolved by Town Council of Town of Winslow that the town manager hereby authorized to purchase the trailer. Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Just a quick question, if I could, Mr. Chairman, through the chair. This was in the capital plan.
Yes, it
So I
was.
went back and looked at that.
Yes. And my numbers are a little wrong. We actually got 33,000 and change from FEMA, so it's better than I thought.
So, refresh my memory, wasn't Vassalboro gonna contribute money when they hook up and that's what we were gonna use?
No, what they did is they bought us a generator for the Dunbar pump station as part of the
Okay.
project. That's been installed. That's
Okay,
been
so
paid for.
that was their piece that they, not
Yes.
their piece, but that was the dedicated
The rest of the
funding.
tie-in money that they paid us went into the capital account.
Okay, thank you.
Raymond?
Is this for like the end of my street where you have the
Yes.
holding tank and then right now you're sucking them out during a power outage?
Yes.
Instead, you're going to hook up this generator to there and then you're going to pump it out into the regular
Most of those
sewer.
small stations, if we pump them out, we're good for probably a day. I've got some pump stations, like the one on China Road, can't go more than an hour and a half without power.
Okay, so, but this is one for all those pump stations. So you'll be rotating,
As much as we can, and eventually the one on the China Road, I'd like to put a permanent one there, but that's in the future. At least we'd have one. Right now, we don't have any.
okay, well, you're sucking them out
Right.
and then bringing them to the treatment plant,
But it's not
right?
always an option. I mean, my truck really, it doesn't have that big capacity. It's only a 1,000-gallon tank. Usually we get like Stanleys in there.
Yeah.
Bigger trucks. They're not always available because when we're out, everybody else is.
So we're not gonna be able, what's your Stanley's, we don't have a power outage that often, but you can't predict what
No,
Stanley's.
but I had Stanley's out for 2 days on this last windstorm we had 2 years ago, so that's where most of this FEMA money came from.
Okay, all right, okay.
Was to reimburse what we spent to them.
This will save us money in the long term if we have an
It
issue
is, and it's one of
with
these
a
questions,
power
when we
outage.
do our insurance questions from MMA and from DEP, you know, you have standby generators, you have plans for outages. Up to now,
Okay,
we've had the same
all right.
one, so,
It's
Okay,
gonna be stored in the new garage?
yes.
Now,
We are gonna have to build another garage.
Just asking.
Any further discussion on resolution number 38?
Okey dokey.
We're all set? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Finally, we move on to resolution 39. A resolution providing for the approval of the attached list of election clerks to assist the town clerk/warden with voting activities for the upcoming state and municipal elections. Be resolved by Town Council Town Winslow as follows, whereas members of both parties moved and seconded, open for discussion.
There's a donor on this list that looks kind of suspicious.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimous.
Thank you very much for doing that.
We will move on to public comments. This is a chance for anybody from the public to come up to the microphone, state their name and address, and make a comment on any item they wish to discuss. If not, we will move on to our discussion items, and the first one on the list is demolition of the junior high school.
Yeah, I put that on the list just to see where we are in that committee. You know, we don't have to do it immediately, but obviously we're gonna have something in the future. Has been any headway, Mike? I had heard that somebody did through the school department, you're saying, go through the junior high recently with Shelley.
Kelly showed something to, about 6 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, that was KV,
He mentioned to us, I don't know who it is or what.
TV call,
KV Cap.
cat.
Yeah, that was KV Cap. So they did, the gentleman came in and did a tour of the facility, went back and met with his board, and I didn't hear from him for a while, so just before I went on vacation, I called him, and he said they are interested. They were a little concerned about the timing. He didn't think it was something they could do very quickly because they got to put the funding mechanism together. So I suggested to him if they are serious about that facility as far as potential for housing, and what I would do is arrange for them to present to our committee and let the committee make a recommendation to this body. And then this body would make a decision about whether that's something they want to entertain. Yeah. So that's where it is right now. I'll probably reach out to him this week.
Good, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You know, it's kind of hard to believe, but, what, 11 months? 11 months, that building most likely and absolutely will probably not being used. And of course, the issue then is what do we do during the winter months? Even if we're gonna wait, we are gonna have to do something during the winter months, either heat it or something, and have inspections and everything else. So that's why I think it's critical that if KV Cap says, yep, you know, that we're gonna pursue it, it's gonna take us 3 years, we need to know that.
Yes.
Because that then gets into how do we maintain the structure for 2 years or something.
Yep. And we may not even be interested in what they're proposing.
Could be.
Could be, yeah. But it's nice to know there's an interest in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a better alternative than tearing it down at our expense, close to $1 million.
So you think, Mike, that we'll be getting that committee back together?
So I'm hoping, this week, I'm hoping to talk to him and get a commitment from him that that's something they're interested in. And at that point, I'll set a time, date and time, hopefully this month. And then we can bring the junior high committee together and listen to their proposal.
Okay.
Brendan.
And just to follow up with Councilman Fletcher, that is, we could make that a priority. I think we need to move forward just as quick as we can on that type of thing, because a vacant building, you know, is not good for anybody, especially with issues and, you know, the more occupancy and you can get somebody in there to you know, keep it, and to, you know, not just a cost, just as the building will age, if it's not heated or breakdowns or anything like that.
Especially in the school zone.
Yeah, you know, we want to expedite that just as quick as we can.
Yeah.
Just one more question, Mr. Chairman, which was not on the discussion items, but I did ask Mike about, we're waiting for the DEP approval for the, you know, pro rata sale, right?
Yes. It's my understanding, I think what in the email, our attorney finally heard back from DEP, and I get the impression it had something to do with the language in the amendment of the permit. And so the attorney, sounds like at the language that needed to be added, and he was putting that in.
Okay.
Bill told me that he thought, now with this, that things should move fairly quickly.
So is the expectation we'll know by our November meeting?
Geez, I hope so, but I will reach out to them and just ask if they could give me a time period.
Yeah.
Because I know Johnny's is anxious to get this process over with. Yes, and of course we
And that's in June, right? It was supposed to be all done in June.
Yeah.
So I will see if I can't get a
Thank you.
time period.
Thank you.
Any other discussions? Yes.
Just a quick comment. Jerry asked a question of me, if those two tanks were propane or oil, and I mistakenly said oil. I just checked with the shop, the superintendent of the construction, and those two tanks are propane, Jerry.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, I'll entertain them. Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just had a question on
Just in time.
the junior high thing. I know going back to, obviously that was, I don't know how long ago now, 2, 3 years ago, we originally put out RFP for the junior high that there was somebody had expressed interest in too. Have we reached back out to them as a, trying to inquire if they're interested in taking a look at it? I'm sure obviously it got back burned when everything got put on hold back then, but, I don't know. That guy's still in the game or not. But
I remember he backed out of it because he couldn't get the tax credit.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. So he kind of lost communications with Mr. Mullins for a period of time. I finally was able to contact him, or he returned my call, and he came in to meet with me. He indicated he was interested in the project, but he really didn't have a plan. What he suggested was maybe if I could find somebody that might be willing to do what he had initially proposed, that he would be interested in collaborating. And so at that point, that's when I turned to KB Cap, just to see if they had an interest, and so kind of pursued that.
Nobody's knocking down the doors trying to get through. So far.
just wondering, didn't know what happened, never happened to that one.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
You want to read that?
I haven't got it.
Wanna be
Does
read
that mean that he would collaborate with somebody, he would put up some capital with KB Cap?
That wasn't the impression I got.
No. Okay, so he's out.
Someone want to read that?
Pursuant to 1 MRSA, Section 405, 6A, personnel matters, we'll go into executive session.